Teach me to breathe. Coming up this Wednesday for a Beyond the Vibe special, I'm joined by Mark Holley of Black Foxes.
And we were on a stage where it was like between the tent, which was sort of club music, like I remember Craig David was playing, and then the main stage, which was like the Jonas Brothers were on or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got
that together.
No, I know. But there was obviously some cool stuff on that little stage that we did. But people were just walking between these stages to get somewhere, and then they'd hear us and they'd be like, "What?" I think this record is definitely the closest reflection of Black Fox's sound going forwards, and it's vast. Like there's lots of different things going on. I mean, the problem that we have now is we're a three-piece still, but a lot of this music that I'm writing, you know, it needs another guitar, it needs another vocalist, it needs a sax player. There's so many elements going on in a lot of this stuff to benefit the songs.
What is it about Husk that you hate? I mean, it's so unusual because you don't hear an artist often, even if they do not like, if they don't like a song, they'll just kind of go keep it to themselves and keep it quiet.
Yeah, that's probably what I should do, to be honest. What do I hate about Husk?
So I'm here with Mark of Black Foxes. Thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, man.
I think to really get a picture of somebody, you have to kind of go back to how things all began for them. So what first got you into wanting to become a musician, first off?
That's a big question. What got me into wanting to be a musician? I think I was just surrounded with really good music from a very young age. My parents had brilliant music taste, and I was constantly hearing Hendrix, Zeppelin, the Beatles, and just the physical element of putting a vinyl onto a record just as a kid. It was great. I don't really know. I honestly don't know what made me pick up the guitar, but I was very young. I was like 5 when I started learning guitar. I think I just had. I think I realized I was better at learning a musical instrument than I was anything with education, and I really liked that. So yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I can't say there was just one particular thing that made me pick up a guitar or made me write a song. So I assume it's because I was surrounded by it subconsciously, without even realizing, I guess, you know?
I think that's the thing, isn't it? When you grow up around music. I mean, I was the same with my parents. I just kind of grew up around it. So it's always been there. It's a thing, you know? Did you have like I think a lot of people when they grow up, they have a kind of a particular band that's like their band. Did you have kind of
I've got an artist. This Neil Young for me is, I mean, it's just, I think for him, it's been someone that I've had my whole life. He's been with me. And genuinely, as a kid, I loved his records as well. It's not one of those things where there's a lot of music that my dad played me, like Prince, Bowie, that I didn't get until I was older. But with Neil Young, for whatever reason, it really did stick straight away. So Neil Young would be the big one for me, yeah.
I mean, you can see a bit of that in there because there's that kind of raw guitar going on there that you've got, and that energy. I think, particularly.
I think definitely the Neil Young Crazy Horse definitely guitar tone wise, which, you know, just that fuzz pedals, just like 4 of them on at once. That's definitely in there.
Of course, you know, your debut album, going back, that released in 2016. Of course, prior to that, you signed with Spine Farm Records at the time. It felt like, I mean, that was kind of when I was first made aware of you with that record. It felt like that was kind of the time where you were appearing everywhere. You kind of turned up. You know, I kept seeing the suggestions on YouTube. It was like everywhere. Like, what was that? What was that time like for you?
That was pretty mad. I mean, I think in the grand scheme of things, that all happened when we were a little bit older. We were sort of mid-20s when we started to have that sort of success. So I felt grounded in the grand scheme of things. Now, there's a lot of things I would have done differently. But just as a person, I think it didn't really ever get to my head. I didn't get carried away with like the drugs and the partying and stuff. I was very focused on the music. Whereas had that happened and I was 18, I can't say, you know, it would have been very different, definitely. But it was fun, man. Like, we got to go to America. We had some real success off that first record. It was really good fun.
I mean, I remember it was like, I think the first thing I ever saw was you playing "I'm Not Well" on Radio 1's Big Weekend. Just appeared.
Oh, right, yeah.
And it was like, you know, like you guys, it was the first thing that kind of struck me was, you know, this isn't the kind of band I would usually see on Radio 1, for starters. Like, you kind of, I couldn't quite pinpoint exactly what it was, but you kind of walked this line. It was like you had this kind of broad appeal. I mean, I'm seeing even now, you know, lots of comments from people where it's like, you know, they really relate to the music. They really kind of connect with it. And then you look at their other tastes, and they might not necessarily be like rock or grunge or whatever, but they seem to be drawn to what you do. Do you think it's kind of the way that you write your songs, you know, kind of drawing from your own experiences?
I guess so. I mean, yeah, that festival was a weird one, though. I know what you mean. We definitely stuck out. And we were on a stage where it was like between the tent, which was sort of club music. Like, I remember Craig David was playing, and then the main stage, which was like the Jonas Brothers were on or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, we got
that together.
No, I know. But there was obviously some cool stuff on that little stage that we did. But people were just walking between these stages to get somewhere, and then they'd hear us, and they'd be like, "What is that?" But I think along the way, I think the beautiful thing, and honestly, the reason I still make music, and I think we're still a band, because the fans that we have picked up along the way, they're lifelong fans. I think it's really beautiful to see how much it impacts people. And I just put that down to the fact that everything I write is completely honest and organic. There's no label management pressure making me change the music. I'm not writing a certain way for radio, ads, whatever. It's whatever I need to say at the time is what I write. And some people won't love all of it, and that's exactly the point. You know, our favorite artists, I'm sure. What's your favorite artist?
That's a tough one. I mean, I'm a bit old school. I'd probably say maybe The Doors, like Jim Morrison, something like that.
Okay, wicked. Is there some stuff of The Doors that you don't particularly like, or do you love everything?
God, you flip the tables. That's tough. I'd probably say there's some stuff that I'm a bit like.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I don't think there's ever an artist where it's very rare, I think, in any case, where you can get an artist where you like their entire catalog, start to end. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, especially those you know, like the Doors, Neil Young and stuff. Neil Young has made some absolutely terrible records along the way, and he admits that. But he's written like 100+ records, so you know. But that's the point, because it can't always it can't resonate with everyone, and I think we're in this culture now where a lot of rock bands specifically, people are telling them to write the same song and the same record again because that's what people like. I think it's just a dangerous precedent to set, I think, because not everyone should like it. This new record that we've got, I know a lot of the older fans won't particularly resonate with it as much, because it's a lot more abstract and long and simmering, and you know, and that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's one of the things that interests me about your band in particular, because as you say there, it's, you know, per record there's kind of an evolution going on here. It's not kind of, oh, you like that, right, we'll do more of that, you know. Like, it's just kind of more of the like I do feel there's an evolution. I mean, obviously with your prior release, the self-titled record, the third album, you know, there does feel a bit of a departure there, doesn't there? These kind of, like, I don't know whether you were kind of just like experimenting or something. I mean, there's obviously tracks that probably you couldn't put on the first record, like Drug Holiday, or I don't know, Pacific, or so, you know, something a bit different. Did you, when you were going in the studio, did you kind of go in with that intention of, you know, this time we're going to try this, or was it just kind of a natural thing?
It was definitely natural. I think the self-titled record was the bridge from the old lineup to the new lineup. But there was still elements in that record of stuff that I'd actually written before with Ant and Triss that came over to that record. So it was this sort of like 50-50 record where it's close enough to the old sound, where it sounds like a Black Foxes record, but yeah, there's definitely like a strong evolution there. But no, none of it was on purpose. Actually, we wanted to go with the same producers that we did for the first two records, just so it didn't sound too far-fetched. But now with this new record, it's, you know, it's, this lineup's been the past 4 years minus 5 years, actually. Me and Finn have been 4 years. I can't remember. But it's been a long time now. It's been a long time that we've been playing together. So now the shackles are off. We've gone to a producer that we wanted for this. And I think it's going to be a completely different evolution again.
I mean, that always interests you, because it's like you don't know exactly where you're going to go. You know, I think you retain that identity, that overall Black Foxes identity, but there is some, it's like, I can't predict exactly what's going to be on the record, you know? And that interests me. I think that's good.
Well, I'm fascinated with songwriting just as I just don't, there's a lot that I don't understand how it happens. But it really does, it blows my mind. And I think as a writer now, I've stopped trying to sit down and write a song, which is something that I did a lot in my 20s. Like, I have to write a song, I'll write a song now, which I can do. But for this record, for the half in particular, a lot of it I would have like 6 month breaks where I wouldn't even pick up a guitar. But I was traveling and I was working abroad, and I was doing things that were just, you know, becoming part of me. That then weirdly, like 6 months later, I would pick up a guitar and just this music came out, and it was so different. And that was obviously all my experiences that I've lived just coming out at that moment. So it's really fascinating to me. There's some really weird magic that happens with songwriting, and I'm sort of discovering it as I go, and I think that's coming across in the music, and I'm along for the ride with it, you know. It's whatever's taking me at that time.
Do you have, like, do you think your process has changed over the years then? Do you think, like you were saying there, you kind of used to kind of sit down and go, right, I'm gonna write a song?
I think it definitely has a little bit, because I did used to think like that. But also, to be honest, the way that me and Triss used to write, we had a we used to practice at a scout hut in Plymouth, and we would practice every week, and we would write music every week. Now I'm a lot more. I'm like, as I said about like life experiences, I will go off by myself and not involve the band. And then when we actually do meet up to rehearse what I've written, we'll just get through that in a few weeks process. So it's not continuous practicing, because I think I've reached a stage now where all of us are really confident players individually. I think if we practice these songs week in, week out, it would butcher that magic for us. We would then go to the studio, we would be over rehearsed. There'd be things where you want to make like odd mistakes and like find new things with the song. By the time you get to the studio, you don't want to have tried everything possible and then it becomes like a routine, because then that's not a magic record. So it's still very raw, but in a very different way.
I think that's interesting. I mean, I've had this discussion with a few different artists on here. You know, when they talk about how they record an album, they're kind of going back to how it used to be. You know, where it's, I don't know, like a room. They record in a room. You know, and there's not as much. They're kind of stripping back the production again. You know, they're going back to like you would use. There used to be this phase, wasn't there, where it was like, oh, I made a mistake. Oh, I'll just edit that out.
Yeah,
or like, you know, and now it's kind of like, I mean, I believe the beauty is in the mistakes. Like, I don't want it to be so perfect, and as you say, they're so rehearsed that it kind of almost feels robotic at one point. You know, it doesn't sound like music anymore, I don't think. You know, at least not in this kind of genre.
Yeah, exactly. And I think ultimately, like, you want to hear the band that you love having fun, and on a record there's something that happens where you can hear when a band's having fun or not.
Yeah.
And also, actually, having said that, sometimes if there's something like Fleetwood Mac going on with rumors where everyone hates each other, that comes across as well. And as long as you feel something, basically, you know, it can be good or bad, it will reflect in the music. But the last thing you want is that monotonous, like, everything's great, we've done this a million times. Because I just don't think you get that magic from that.
Of course, you know, with the new album that's on the way, The Heart, obviously you're doing well with your Kickstarter, and that's you know, you're over the mark. I believe you kind of did a bit of recording out in Spain, and you did a bit in Scotland. Have you kind of like where are you kind of looking at going with this time? Because obviously this is the first time you're doing a Kickstarter. I mean, I believe you're kind of looking at maybe doing a self-release this time.
That was kind of the initial plan, but honestly, it's just too expensive to do a self-release on top of what we've spent for the record. So the plan is to sign into like a label distribution deal, which is totally different, because they just pay for the distribution of the record and a bit of the marketing, and you keep the majority of the rights to the record still. Maybe a 70-30 split or something in the band's favor, which is great for us, because obviously up till this point, major label deals, and there are great things about major deals as well, but for where we're at currently, we need to start seeing some money back from these record sales. So that's the initial plan, but the goal is absolutely to be able to self-release. So maybe album 5, if we can save up enough money from this release and touring and stuff to be able to then market videos ourselves, self-release the next one, would be amazing. That's sort of where we'd, you know, set up a little label. These things excite me a lot.
Is that kind of the end goal? Maybe have your own kind of label?
The end goal is for us to do absolutely everything in-house. Yeah, that's the end goal. And a label would be amazing. Like, not just for our band, I'd love to put out some small runs of records of musicians that I love. You know, I'd really love that.
I mean, almost in that kind of, possibly to a smaller scale, the kind of Jack White third man kind of thing that he's got going on.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
But that'd be interesting. I mean, I think there is kind of that market now. That I hear this from quite a few musicians where it's like, they want that control again. I think these kind of, there's benefits, I'm sure, to the big labels, but as you say there, it's like you want that freedom, I imagine, to be able to kind of go in these different directions and do different things. With the Holley, do you have like a particular song or something maybe for the fans to kind of look out for when it does come out? Maybe something that you're proud of particularly?
There's a couple. I think definitely off the top of my head, and all three of us, I think, will agree with this. The final song on the record, it's another 10-minute sort of, I don't know how to describe it really. You got to stick with it, basically. Okay. You got to stick with it for the whole 10 minutes. But we're all really proud of that song. I think it was one that was written 2 years before we did the recording. But we only found the magic for that song 2 weeks before we actually went in to do the records. We got it fine. But it was just fine before. It was like, I think maybe we were a bit arrogant with the length of the track, and we were like, well, that'll be cool. So it sounds good enough for that, and it's just cool to release a long song. And for whatever reason, just the rehearsals leading up to the recording, it just clicked. Something clicked with it, and it just went on its own journey. And there's something real lush and moody and simmering about that track. I'm really excited for people to hear that. Yeah. It's called in the Image of Perfection, for people that want to take a note of that.
One to look out for, then, I'm sure. I mean, obviously we mentioned there, we touched on it a little bit there with touring and whatnot. Do you have like maybe something that you particularly enjoy playing live? I mean, I think live music is such a different experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Badlands live is just so much fun. And one of those tracks where I don't think we've ever really had it apart from Husk back in the day. But the moment I start playing that riff for Badlands, it doesn't even matter if people have heard the song in the audience. People are in. They are in the moment that riff happens, which is just really cool. And we have so much fun with that track. There was one show that we just ended up playing in like a bar. And people were sort of getting into it, and we just wouldn't stop the song. The outro went on for 20 minutes. And it was so much fun. It was just guitar solo, feedback noise. Finn was improvising. It was so great. So, yeah, that song. I love playing River still. I still love playing River. Hate playing Husk. I don't know how much longer we're going to do that for. I think it might be gone.
What is it about Husk that you hate? I mean, it's so unusual because you don't hear an artist often, even if they don't like a song, they'll just kind of go keep it to themselves and keep it quiet.
Yeah, that's probably what I should do, to be honest. What do I hate about Husk? As a songwriter, I find it really immature in the writing. I don't think it's that thing, because a lot of bands don't like playing their one hit. Like Radiohead hate playing Creep. Yeah. But I don't think it's that, because I love playing River. I love playing a lot of I'm Not Well. I love playing a lot of the old stuff. I just don't think it's a very good song.
I mean, I saw a comment on that Husk video the other day, and there was a guy down there that genuinely wrote, he just wrote, can they make more songs like this? So I'm afraid for that man that's out there.
But we get that a lot, man. We get that a lot. And even with the last record, there's people that are just like, so when are you going to write more stuff like Husk, and it's like,
Right.
well, it's gonna get a lot worse for you.
Yeah.
But also Husk is always there, and I'm Not Well is always there as a record, and
Mm.
I find that interesting when people want you to make that record again, because it's like that record is there and it will never be. If we tried to do something really similar to I'm Not Well now, even though I think we've improved so much as writers, it would never be as good, you know.
No, I agree. I think that's the trouble when you try and just do the same. I mean, I find with a lot of artists, when it gets to usually album 3, if they don't start to adapt their sound or change a bit, if it's just kind of more of the same, it starts to feel a bit stale. It's like a poor man's version of the first one or the first two. And I think it's healthy to have this evolution. I mean, as you mentioned there with Badlands, I mean, that was one that really kind of stuck out to me on the previous record. Is it did feel like this nice line between what you'd done prior, but then there's a kind of new era that's going on.
Sure. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think more bands need to be honest about that. I think as well with the lineup change for us, it was kind of both Ant and Tris kind of wanted to write music like I'm Not Well and Rafi, because that's what got them into music. Those were the bands that they were into. And I was at that stage, I was struggling to write the same stuff as that because I just moved on. And it just, there was no hard feelings with the split from those guys at all. They went on, and now they're in another band called Sometimes, writing music that they want to write. But it did reach a point where we both had to go in separate journeys, because I think the third record otherwise would have, from me, not for those guys, they would have smashed it, but the writing for me would have been so subpar if I hadn't been able to go and create with different musicians sometimes as well, and just get out what I needed to get out.
Do you have like I mean, obviously there was the second record as well with that I can never pronounce properly. Is it
Rafi?
Yeah.
Rafi, yeah.
I mean, you did that one out in, wasn't it? Like, trying to think where you recorded that. Somewhere like Norway, Poland, somewhere around there.
No, we were meant to record it in Iceland.
That was it.
But we actually recorded it. We actually recorded it in Warwickshire. That's it. At Vader Studios.
I saw a few of the music videos from back then, and it was like, again, even in that second record there's definitely some evolution going on there. It's not exactly the same.
Yeah, absolutely. I wrote a lot of that record in Iceland. Obviously, we shot a music video in Iceland. There's a lot of that cinematic sort of soundscape stuff going on. But yeah.
Going forward now, do you think the next record, do you think you'll try something again, like something different again? Or do you feel like you've found your sound at this point with this new one?
Yeah, I think this record is definitely the closest reflection of Black Fox's sound going forwards. And it's vast. Like, there's lots of different things going on. I mean, the problem that we have now is we're a 3-piece still. But a lot of this music that I'm writing, it needs another guitar, it needs another vocalist, it needs a sax player. There's so many elements going on in a lot of this stuff to benefit the songs. And there is still songs that is just loud as anything, 3 people in the room. But I think going forwards for the next album 5, we will get someone else involved potentially. But I started writing that now. Actually, I'm like 4 or 5 songs into album 5, so
ahead of the game.
Trying to be, especially if we're doing everything in house, it's just going to help us so much, just being on top of that and having a record to go off the back of the last one.
Do you have any plans kind of for a tour to go with the with the record?
We will definitely tour. Yeah, there's no plans yet because we don't know the exact release date. But I would imagine end of this year, headline tour, and then the plan is to play as many festivals as we possibly can. The problem is, for a band in our position, we would stay on the road if we could. But because our last release was now 3 years ago, it came out during COVID, the numbers were okay. People aren't going to put us on the festivals and the support tours unless we have something brand new and exciting coming out. So the reason why most bands split up is because they reach this stage, they can't afford to put out a new record. Labels don't really want to touch it too much because they see the trajectory like this. And then they're between a rock and a hard place. Whereas we realize that we do have the backing. And I mean, this Kickstarter has shown it.
Yeah.
We just need to continually make music. And if that now has to come in the form going forwards of potentially Kickstarters and stuff to help fund us make the record, it showed that that can work. And people get cool rewards from it too. It's not like a crowdfunding where we're just asking for the money without anything. People are going to get a record or a DVD, t-shirt, whatever, gig. So yeah, the plan is to stay on the road as much as possible, but the only way to do that is with music out.
A question I always like to kind of finish on and ask every guest that comes on. It's a bit of a hypothetical one. If you could tour with one band from the past and one band from the present, who would they be?
Okay, from the present, I think because Finn mentioned this on the Q&A that we did the other day, and I think as a band collectively we'd all agree on it. I'd say Damon Albarn, either with Gorillaz or Blur. I would just love to be in the same sort of presence as Damon Albarn, potentially like write some music or something in hypothetical dreamland would be super cool. From the past, see, now I've said Damon Albarn, I'm thinking of all the other people that are still making music now that I would want to, like PJ Harvey, Nick Cave. Oh, from the past. Okay, we'll just say Prince. We'll say Prince. I think those shows would be absolutely mental.
It would be a crazy, like some variety going on there in this gig.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
What would yours be?
Oh man. I mean, number one, I can't play, so that's going to be a very disappointing evening for everybody involved there.
In a hypothetical world, you could be the best player in the world.
I mean, well, this is true. I mean, in that world where I'm amazing. Cool. That's tough. I'll probably have to say Led Zeppelin for the past.
Yep.
I don't know, I just think prime Led Zeppelin would just be so interesting just to kind of see how they work, particularly behind the stage, see what goes on.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. I like to see how they tick. Today, that would be tough. For today,
It's tough, isn't it?
It's difficult for today. I mean, this is probably a sad indictment that I live in the past. Who knows? God. I mean, a real popular one that I hear a lot is Rival Sons, if you're familiar with them. They're like
I heard the name, but I don't actually know if I've heard it.
They're like a very kind of retro rock kind of band.
Okay.
But it's difficult because I've got a bit of an eclectic taste. Like, yeah, I mean, you obviously mentioned Neil Young there. I like Neil Young.
Yeah, Neil Young would be amazing. He's still killing it as well.
He is. Yeah, I mean, he's. I don't know whether I'd want to meet Neil Young though. You know.
Same. I've always said that. Yeah, I don't think I would like to either.
Because there was this amazing story somebody told me was they went to go and see him, and apparently for the entire evening he refused to play any of his hits.
Yeah.
He just played some obscure songs all night.
There's so many stories like this. Yeah, that I can't remember. There was some story about a London show where people had given out previously to him for not playing the hits, and I think he was going to play his set list for all the other nights was like full of all the hits.
Yeah.
And for this one show, he just ended up playing like nothing anyone knew. And obviously Glastonbury, one of my favorite Glastonbury performances is when he does Rockin' in the Free World. He gives them the hit, but it goes on for like 25 minutes or something. It's just the chorus constantly. Oh, it's so good. Love him so much.
Yeah, there's something like, I just love that he's like the most passive aggressive guy. He's just like, this song. Here's 25 minutes of it.
It's genius though. He's having a great time.
Oh no, there is something with him. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's been really cool speaking with you, man. And
yeah, you too. Thank you for having me on, dude.
No, it's cool. And obviously, for those that want to check out the Kickstarter, at the time of this release, it'll be 2 days before the Kickstarter ends. Yeah, 2 days. So
wow. Okay.
in the last 2 days, we'll hopefully get a bit of a boom.
Well, yeah, if we can. So in fast forwarding time now, we've got 2 days left to go on the Kickstarter. If we can reach 20k, which is our third stretch goal, we will be the happiest people in the world. So thank you so much for the support as well, everyone.
Yes, go and jump on that. I mean, obviously you mentioned there was vinyl available. I mean, we're always big on vinyl here. So I'd encourage people to get that.
A little exclusive as well. Only people that have ordered from the Kickstarter will get their name printed in the vinyl. And yeah, I mean, I may as well release this information as well to you if it's 2 days to go by the time this comes out. But the third stretch goal that we've got, if we hit that, which is 20,000, so we've still got a bit of a way to go. You know, that would be mad if we hit that. But if we do, the reward is going to be, we're going to give everyone that has backed the project any amount. We're going to give them a song from Vahar that isn't going to make it onto the record because of vinyl time and stuff. The record's just too long. So the only people that will ever hear this song, it's not a B-side, it's not a demo, it's a song that should have been on the record. It's going to be people that have backed the Kickstarter. So that's pretty exclusive. I think it's a pretty cool thing for people. So yeah.
So it's going to be for people that can, like, you'll never hear it anywhere else.
Unless people like put it on YouTube and stuff and rip it. But we're never going to promote it. We're not doing anything with it. So yeah.
So it's pretty unlikely if you want to hear it, that's the place to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Mark. And hopefully I'll catch you on tour soon, whenever.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.